listening out there in internet lands, and welcome to You've Got a Thing, the actual first You've Got a Thing of 2022, mind you. So happy New Year on that. My name is Jamie Gray, sort of co-creator of this program and all-around theater nerd. You've Got a Thing, an interview thing about Milwaukee theater things, and today we are welcoming to this program. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Kennita from Katera, the chief culture curator, just because I felt like I deserve a C-suite title too. And basically,
Yeah.
I just help creatives to be seen and heard.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into it a little bit, but your main thing is the promotion of individual artists as opposed to, you know, large companies and whatnot, which I think especially these days, individual artists far outweigh sort of collectives or companies or things like that. But I'm hoping, could you just talk to us a little bit about your company, like how it got
Sure.
started?
So I actually started off as a freelance writer. I always really wanted to be like the black lady Carson Daly. And so like that was like my beacon of hope. And so freelance writing, radio, and I started working for national publications as a freelance writer, and I just wanted to create space for Milwaukee artists. But Milwaukee musicians, when they would like send their press kit to me or what have you, it just wasn't the standard. And so I think I recognize the importance of how do I bring my knowledge to Milwaukee to help create opportunities in these other spaces where I'm in. And that's really how it began. It was at first KISS Communications, which was PR and marketing work for artists, that moved into management. And then there was a rebrand of sorts, although to be fair, not a ton of people knew KISS Communications to begin with. So I always suggest a rebrand when people aren't really familiar with your brand. It's much easier. And then Katera
Sure.
moved into this brand ambassador, brand and marketing space.
Okay. When did you pop Katera into the sphere of consciousness?
Honestly, about 2015, 2016. I would say maybe 2016-ish. So for a while, I mean, this is gonna get a little personal, guys, but for a while, you know, music, writing, advocacy work had always really been my side hustle. But I found that when I would get into relationships, that I was with people who didn't necessarily believe in the side hustle. And so I was kind of putting it on the back burner to be a good partner to these like losers. Hi, losers. And so if you're watching, hello, welcome to my glow up. Hey, haters. And so about 2016, I had this really, frankly, hellacious breakup. I was dumped at my church. It was
No.
during church service, mind you. I thought he was proposing. He wasn't. And so when I finally,
No.
yes. And so when I finally came out of that, I was just like, never will I give up my gifts or lose my identity for a person again. And so I really started to take it seriously. I went through the name change. So it changed from KISS Communications, which my mom gave me as an acronym for my name. My name is Kennita Katera, actually. And so my friends and family call me Casey. So my mother loved KISS Communications. And so she kind of christened the first business that, but for trademark purposes, it ran some moderate risk to being confused with KISS the band. So went through some name changes and finally just decided to name it after myself, name it Katera. And that was really the start of it. It was really, Katera really became the commitment to myself to always prioritize my work, always prioritize what I felt was my purpose, regardless to who I may have been in partnership with. It was like, you know, just because you're in partnership with somebody doesn't mean your purpose changes. I was still here put on earth to do specific work, regardless to whether I'm a wife or a mother or whatever. And I'm still called to do that work and serve in that capacity. So that's Katera.
Awesome. That's, I mean, the just the message of being true to yourself and really being there for yourself before you can be there for anybody else. That's what I hear about that, and really to be your own identity. And
Mhm.
yeah, because we do get lost in other people sometimes. I just can't believe that story. Like, who does that to somebody at church? Just nuts.
Yeah.
Whatever, whoever that person is. Oh my lord. Um, so just recently you received this award from 88.9 Milwaukee about they named you the music ambassador of the year for contributions to the music scene.
Mhm.
Would you consider music your dominant market, or
I think it has been. You
okay.
know, it's funny as I was thinking about today and talking with you, just how it never occurred to me that there would be independent scenes in all of the disciplines. You know what I mean? When I first started working in music, it just never occurred to me that there could be an independent dance scene, an independent theater scene, independent authors. And so it never occurred to me, at least back then. And frankly, I'll go a step further and say, even when I was vice president of WAMI, I got involved in WAMI, which is the Wisconsin area music industry. I got involved with them years ago because I wanted to learn about other disciplines beyond hip hop and R&B,
Mm-mm.
which is where I found the bulk of my work. And so just learning that Wisconsin has this incredible folk and Americana and very rich blues history that expands beyond Milwaukee. So yeah, I would say music has been my dominant space, but I'll say that I recognize that my skill sets and my passion can be helpful to both individual artists and independent arts institutions.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to say you were the person who led me to the music that we use for our credits at the end of the show. We use color at the end of the thing, and I keep saying I do want to, and this is something that we should talk about, because we're both very busy people, but I do want to make that ending closeout to this program a space for more independent music artists to just promote more independent Milwaukee musicians and expose people, because theater is theater, which is great, but theater does use clearly music and all these different disciplines in the art form itself. So, and especially in Wisconsin, where we've fallen so far behind
Mhm.
in the amount of money that we provide to the arts, it only serves us to help each other, because like you said, all of these disciplines have independent and individual artists, and particularly in theater, I think individual actors and technicians and things like that far outweigh like the Milwaukee reps and the big organizations. It's a lot of independent people, so I would, same as the music industry.
And I think that was something that was initially lost on me. I hope at this stage in my career to really just serve as a convener between these spaces, because I think for me, at least when I started out in music, and I think this attitude is still there, when people think of your city based, or people call it local, I don't like the word local because I think local has an ugly inference to it that maybe it's not as good. But
Mhm. Mm.
becoming a part of the Milwaukee Theater Alliance and just learning more about how many smaller theater companies we have who are doing this incredible work, who just don't have the resources to really have folks talk out about it, like some of our other larger institutions. And I think for me, I believe there's space for both to exist. But I find that it's much easier to ignore the independent artist. I mean, also, this can go down a super grimy rabbit hole, but Milwaukee really doesn't know how to be inclusive, I think, of other art forms.
Sure.
So we're funding the muralist and things like that, and more power to them. Like, yes to murals. But how do your independent how does your independent author really publish their book to generate sales and market it to generate sales? How do especially now during the pandemic, like, what are the options for independent theater to make sure that people still have access to the shows, and make sure that their companies are generating money as well? And I just don't think we have the infrastructure yet to
Yeah.
make sure that everybody's able to eat.
Yeah, and I think too, because a lot of things that we talk about in the theater space is the brain drain
Mhm.
of artists leaving Milwaukee to go to Chicago and beyond. And it only behooves us in any of the arts disciplines to keep people here and support them, not only for the economy, as far as like having people pay rent here, having people buy groceries here,
Mhm.
instead of having to spend those extra dollars to bring artists in from other areas, and then they're paying rent somewhere else and subletting things in other spaces to develop artistry. And yeah, I hear you on the local thing of how it denotes some sort of
Yeah.
lesser than.
And that's not true. And I want to be clear for everybody listening too, that I was one of the people who wanted to leave Milwaukee.
Yeah,
It is really only
I
because
did.
of it was really only because of my mother that I didn't. My plan was to go to Howard University, which was the communications college. And I also wanted to be around my people, and I wanted to go to the best. And so I was gonna do that. What screwed it up for me, one, was grades. Once I knew I had gotten once I knew I could graduate from King, really the only thing I paid attention to anyways was, frankly, English and theater class. Those
Yeah,
were really the only classes I was present in. Um
because they're
and
the best.
exactly. And then I remember my senior year, going into my senior year, me and my mother were at Ponderosa, so y'all know this was old.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking to my mother. I have 3 autoimmune disorders, and I had stopped taking my pills for years. And I was counting pills. So I knew when to tell the doctor that I needed more pills, whatever. Well, I've been doing this for years. And my mother was saying, "You can't go to Howard. Your doctors are here." And I'm like, "I don't even need them, Mom. I haven't taken my medicine in years." And she was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And so I told her this whole thing I'd been doing for years. And she was like, "That's why your blood work has been crazy. We
Oh
just couldn't
man.
figure it out because you kept getting more prescriptions. So now you're in Milwaukee and you'll make this work here." And so I had to really find the opportunities in Milwaukee to do the work that I thought I would be doing in DC and New York. And then I recognized, well, what happens to the city if you take your talents with you? Because I was leaving and wasn't coming back. Let me be clear. I was blowing this popsicle stand. I was out of here.
Yeah.
But I think staying here was a great decision. And frankly, I think if you can make it in Milwaukee, you really can't make it anywhere. This is a hard city. It's a tough city.
I mean, well, we could fall down that rabbit hole of I mean, that's this is only a half-hour program, so that's
You
you
can
know
always have me back, Jamie Lynn.
we that will be a discussion for another time. I mean, that's like a Milwaukee theater standards,
Mhm.
discussion, public discussion, and talking
Which
about.
let me just say, while since you mentioned Milwaukee theater standards, like that, I thought that was such an incredible document to create, and just the amount of time that you invested in leading those conversations and the thoughtfulness that you put into like inviting community into the space to really set a standard for what Milwaukee theater should be, and how it should be safe for everyone involved.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the coolest projects that I got to observe, and so just wanted to name that while we're
Well, I mean,
mentioning it.
you didn't just observe it. You are a major contributor to that process. You know, you and Katie Cummings coming from Pink Umbrella and just and Row, coming from the different areas of spaces that need to be included in
Mhm.
this discussion to really make particularly theater a space that's beyond. I know some people hate this shit, but I'm going to say it anyway. The white male patriarchy, and really start being a broader spectrum of humanity because we are,
Mhm.
and so yeah, that but you contributed tons to that process, and we would have never gotten there. And I know that you've said that you get, and forgive me if I'm misquoting you or anything like that, about the idea of being the only black woman in the room. But I thank you for that, of just being there, and you were also the only black woman in the room for that process. But
I was.
um but we needed you, and sometimes you need just that one voice, and you are such a strong influential voice that was so helpful to the process. And so I'm eternally grateful for that. And that's something we have to go back, and the whole mission was to go back to that every year. And so we're talking about that right now, of going back to the theater standards and seeing what changes need to be made
Mm.
this year, because so much of that process last year was what really kicked it off, was the murder of George Floyd. And that was the perspective and the lens that we were coming from on that. And one of the things that we majorly talked about this year was incorporating more of the mental health perspective
Mm.
into, because particularly in theater, that the whole mental process of the show must go on. And I'm sure that's in the music industry too, and all of that, about of
Oh,
art,
yeah.
this artist brain of, I don't care how sick I am, or whatever it is, we have to you know go forward, and be there for the audience, and all those types of things, how to be kinder to ourselves, and really learn how to avoid burnout.
Yes.
Because when you're burned out, and you know this from being an entrepreneur, I'm 100% in that same space of, as a producer, to be kind to ourselves and be there 100%, and learn when to take time off and
Mhm.
time for ourselves and self-care and all those
Especially now. Especially
things.
now. I don't think I've experienced burnout, like, harder or more, like, intense than I have over the past 2 years,
Yeah.
during the pandemic. So yes. Yes to all of that.
Well, I mean, what was then the thing that really pushed you to be like, especially in a pandemic, to be like, okay, I need to really, get rid of my day job and really focus on my own business. Because a lot of people did it. A lot of people did it over the pandemic, and when I need to make this change. But it's also an interesting time, especially with the economy the way it is, and everything. Where did it just take the pandemic to go, you only live once, or something like that?
I think that it was for me, it was recognizing that I'd probably gone as far as I could in my previous role. And
Mm,
I think that the powers that be in that previous role also recognized that this was kind of the end of the road. So, like, that, you know, yeah, that end of a relationship, right? Because
mm,
ultimately employment is that, right? You're in
yeah.
this relationship, and so, yeah, I think it was this recognition that this was probably as far as we could go, um, I didn't come to that decision easily, I would say. I felt such I think an extreme commitment. I came into that role having specific things that I wanted to do. And I felt like that work had not been completed. And so I had to come to acceptance that maybe it wasn't meant for me to complete that work there. Um, and so yeah, that was it. It was like I think we both recognized that to continue any further, this could get a little tumultuous. And so it was like, well, do you go work for someone else? Like what do you do? And it was like, yeah, let's see how this works. And so, 6 months in, I've been really fortunate. Once I told folks that I had left and I was full-time entrepreneur, I was able to work on some really cool, engaging projects. So I worked with the art museum this past summer, Lakeside at MAM, bringing in other disciplines into what I call the art museum's backyard. All of that incredible green space. We were able to bring folks in from different disciplines. I never in a million years thought I would be working with musicians at the art museum, especially one as beautiful as ours. And so to spend a summer doing that, I've been able to get into some brand partnership and advocacy work for musicians with like nonprofits. So I'm just wrapping up that project as a pilot and seeing if we can turn it into an actual blueprint. And so I've been able to do work that's a little more grounded and rooted to my values
Mm-mm.
that helps kind of um expand what does it mean to be an artist in Milwaukee and what opportunities are really available for you.
Yeah, and I will say there that you are actually the first person to dive into the Milwaukee Theater Alliance's trial at an individual membership. I mean, this is something that we've talked about from the beginning, and there was some concern within the community that we were focusing too much on companies rather than the slew of individual actors and technicians and artists that are across Milwaukee. And so what we really want to do is provide a membership opportunity for individual artists so that they can get the same sort of benefits as a company would be able to, like access to uh Milwaukee Theater Alliance resource materials and our contact lists, and but a lot of it too with signal boosting, and like say taking one of your projects or whatever you're posting on your social media and reposting it on the Milwaukee Theater Alliance page and things like that, just to help to expose our individual members. um we're going to try and you know get more things in there, and just as far as how busy you are and how busy we all are, we haven't really had the opportunity to sit down and have meetings, because the goal is to get a few of you to engage in this individual membership, to develop it where like this is working for us and this is not working for us.
But I became a member one because I thought, the membership was nominal, and if it helps even a little bit to further the work, then like let's do it. But I also became a member because I really still wanted to keep a seat at the table. I felt like my skill sets, even moving into this full-time entrepreneur space, and it has been its own journey. And I feel like I haven't been as connected as I wanted to, like as a board member or as a member. But I felt like the skill sets that I have and the experience that I have in these other disciplines would still be really helpful to bring to the theater space.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it was like, nah, I'm not quite ready to give this up yet.
Yeah.
I want to be at the table. I still want to do the work because again, like just knowing how many smaller theater companies are out there,
Yeah.
having, writers come to me and say, well, how can I get my play,
Yeah.
on stage with one of these smaller theater houses? Like all of these, connections that I could help make. Like, again, I just think that that is the rent I pay to be here on earth. And I want to make sure that, you know, when my time is done, that I've left this place a little better than it was when I got here in 1984. So, and I'm super committed to that.
And I am really wanting to connect with you way more on that in 2022 than we've been able to. As soon as your transition slows down a little bit, or I've got this. I love your email message of thank you so much for your patience. You have this automatic response to your emails. Thank you so much for your patience as I do this. Please expect a 24 to 48 hours. Yeah.
I don't have to tell you, Jamie Lynn, like, you know, and anybody listening knows how much time we spend in our inbox just going back and forth, finding a time to meet with somebody. No,
Yeah.
here's a calendar link.
Yeah.
If you need something else and you have my cell number, text me. Other
Yeah.
than that, I'll talk to you in 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want to, if it's not urgent enough to text me and you didn't set up a meeting, then you really don't want nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've used it. I've used your calendar.
And I didn't even have to respond back. I can look at it and be like, oh, she's on my calendar. Great.
Yeah,
I'll talk to her in a couple weeks.
It's awesome. The technology that we have available to us now as entrepreneurs and producers and things like that is great. Use it.
Yes.
Connect with Kennita because it will be worth it for you. So people can connect to you through your email address, and it will give them all the things that they need to set up a meeting with you and talk to you about things. Yeah.
Yep. The people can also connect with me through Instagram and LinkedIn. These days, those are my preferred platforms. So LinkedIn, Kennita Hickman, Instagram, Katera Music, and then also at Artist Eats, which is the music series I host. So yeah, feel free to find me there.
Awesome. Yeah. I encourage you all out there, if you are an individual artist looking for assistance and looking for a way to connect to any given community, Kennita's going to be your person to make that happen. So,
and I'll also make an appeal if you have a skill set, you know, because you talked a little bit about the Music Ambassador Award, and I know we short on time, but I do want to say that I was the first Black woman to win this award. But this award was first given out like 10, 12 years ago to the first Black person. So the first person who got this award was Vic Thomas over at Summerfest in 2010, 2011. And then here we are, 2021. I'm the first Black woman to get it. So look, if you got skill sets, if you're interested in the arts, if you love the arts, find ways to volunteer, become a part of the Milwaukee Theater Alliance, start a company. The city of Milwaukee really needs your talents, and the creative economy and creative industry needs your service. So get in there, start the company, volunteer, join a creative board, and let's help our creatives make some money while we make some money too.
Yeah, the more voices that we have, and the more people that we have willing to speak out and be vocal about the arts community, the better off we're going to be. We need people willing to do the work, and really make Milwaukee and Wisconsin better for arts people, so that we can have world class, not local class, world class art here, at your fingertips,
fingertips,
right out your front door. Let's make that happen.
Yep, agreed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. This is cool.
Yeah, and again, we will talk lots more about, there's so much work that needs to be done, and particularly in the theater community. And I just want to say thank you again for being on the board and being involved and providing all your talents to this community. I'm really glad that you're here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So we'll talk more soon. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Will.
And we'll see you later, alligator.
All right. Bye.
Bye. I do like Kennita's just what a wonderful person to have for the arts community. Reach out if you need assistance. She's just one of those people that is driven by the love of art, and we need people like that. So I just want to go over some let me see my notes here. I just want to go over a couple of event things that we have going on in the community. Today is opening night for the Diary of Anne Frank over at Milwaukee Entertainment Group. If you don't know the story of Anne Frank, this is a real historical event that happened during World War II. She was part of the Jewish community that went into hiding during the Holocaust. And unfortunately, spoiler alert, her family was found, and they were part of the victims of the Holocaust. But she was a diarist. I think that they went into hiding when she was 12, 13, and then were found when she was 15. They were in hiding for 2 years before they were found, and she was writing this whole time. And so it's about that time period of their lives. So happy opening night to them. You can get tickets for that at MilwaukeeEntertainmentGroup.com. Next, we have opening next week, Friday, and I'm hoping to have Joanna, who's directing Ernest Shackleton Loves Me. It's only a 2-week engagement at Skylight Music Theater, so you're gonna have to get your butts in there. And it's a great story. If you know and you like I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change by Joe DiPietro, it's the same writer, again directed by Joanna Ponasek, who is a co-creator of You've Got a Thing. Full disclosure, she directed Skylights Oklahoma and Carmina Burana, both great hits over there at Skylight. So this is a 2-person show, and I am a geek about 2-person shows. And it's just a love story, including modern music, cutting edge video, and things like that, about 2 people, a composer violinist and an early 1900s intrepid banjo playing Antarctic explorer, Ernest Shackleton, and how they find love. That's at skylightmusictheatre.org. Pink Umbrella is, the wonderful company that is working with the disabled community, those who identify with intellectual, physical, or emotional disability, to get them involved in the theater community. Katie Cummings is building this company so that eventually she will be able to step out, and it will be an entirely disabled person run, operated, inclusive company, as soon as she can get all the people that need to be involved in that involved. If you're looking for any sort of coaching, puppetry, acting, improv, musical theater, the class registration is open now. You should do that. My own daughter has done classes over there. It's a fantastic environment. Do that. And I'm putting this up there now because the Kids from Wisconsin, their auditions, I think, start in February, but you can sign up for and put in video submissions and all those types of things right now. If you are a singer, dancer, or instrumentalist between the ages of 15 and 20, I'm sort of a geek about this because my mom and my aunt were in Kids from Wisconsin, so I am a supporter of that group. If you are, seriously interested and invested in singing, dancing, all those types of things, this is probably something for you. 36 chosen performers travel all around Wisconsin. It's a time-honored tradition. My mom says it was the greatest time of her life that she ever had, and it can be yours too. So go and check out kidsfromwisconsin.org to make that happen. I do always have to give a shout out to Imagine MKE for lending us this beautiful platform and making my life so much easier. I will keep saying this every time we do this. We need more arts advocates out there, and Imagine MKE makes it really easy to copy and paste stuff and send it to your elected official and make it happen. So just go to imaginemke.org/act and get that copy and paste materials at your fingertips. I think we're still at a 61% vaccination rate. And in fact, I know multiple theater productions in the area. One that I was involved with just decided last night to postpone their production. There's a lot of places that are just rearranging things. I heard a story about the Bucks that there's like only 3 people who haven't had COVID in that organization. Just because we know that breakthrough things, especially with Omicron, are a real deal right now, and so your best chance for wellness is to get vaccinated, get boosted. The stats are real. It's the best thing that you can do, and especially if you want live events in your life, please help. Please get vaccinated. And just once again, Happy New Year to you all. 2022, we hope things can turn around because the last 2 years I would not say have been glowing, wonderful experiences out there, but we will be okay. We'll be okay. So thank you out there in the internet lands for joining us for You've Got a Thing. If you do that weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, monthly basis, you might go on a watching streaming binge of every You've Got a Thing episode that ever was, which I think is 50 something episodes now that we've got out there. But you can do that on Facebook and do that on YouTube and watch those and just learn more about the theater community in general and the people that are involved in the companies that are involved. There's a lot of us out there, and we're always doing as much as we can to make theater a part of everyone's lives in Milwaukee. So follow us, do that, all the things. But I thank you so much for being here. And like I said, I hope to get Joanna on here next week to talk about Ernest Shackleton Loves Me, because I'm interested to hear about what that show is all about. But until that happens, come back next Friday and visit with us and ask questions and do all the things. And so we'll see you next week on You've Got a thing.